Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. So yeah, today obviously we had a little bit of volatility. I was personally hoping for a little bit more because we had Jerome Powell doing his Q&A about the semi-annual monetary policy of the Fed. And yeah, some things came to light that were a little bit more hawkish, I think, than the market had priced in already. So that happened quite quickly. So a bit of a red candle in the crypto market, but to be honest, it was bought up quite quickly. However, the DXY did rally quite a bit. So yeah, we need to see how that carries on tomorrow. But before we dive deeper into the analysis, first a few words about the sponsor of today's Bitcoin video, Chartprime. Chartprime is a service that provides specific TradingView indicators. There are 5 specific and unique indicators that you can only get through Chartprime if you sign up to one of their plans. These are based on quite complex algorithms and formulas and can be helpful in identifying trade setups, which means they can provide additional signals that could support your trading. Indicators can, for example, also be useful to support Elliott Wave counts to give more confidence. Of course, you don't need to apply Elliott Wave to use Chartprime, and the combination of their indicators alone can provide trade setups and signals as well. They currently offer a 30% limited time discount, so if you are interested in this, check it out. Of course, bear in mind that no indicator works 100% of the time. Here's an example of the Bitcoin chart with one of the range indicators. This indicator combines various indicators in itself, so you can adjust it to your needs, but it basically shows your range resistances, different support resistance levels based on different time frames, and it categorizes them based on their relevance. And this indicator provides you with dynamic support and resistance bands to which the price is reacting. And if you're interested in checking it out, make sure that you use the link in the video description and on their website. You can also read through testimonials and you can join their Discord community, which you can join in case you have any questions about how to use those indicators. Tomorrow, obviously, this carries on and we get some job data. I think we get some job data tomorrow. Definitely throughout the week, there's some more job data that's coming in. So I think it will be a bit of a volatile week, which is great because the range in which we've been trading for the last few days, it's just super boring. Bitcoin became a stable coin, and I think even my trading bot is getting bored. Okay, but we start today here on the weekly chart. Yeah, I just wanted to remind you where we're heading, what the overall outlook is. Don't want to make it too long, but it's good from time to time also for the benefit of new viewers to always look at the long-term chart as well. So my idea is that in March 2020, we started a wave 1 to the upside for Bitcoin that peaked in April 21 in a so-called wave 1 in an impulse. We then came down in an A wave, rallied in a B wave, an overshooting B wave, which is a corrective pattern. So this ABC structure is part of the correction. Therefore, you could argue, and I always argue, that the bear market officially started actually in April 21, whereas most people think it actually started in November 21. But technically, the correction actually started here, in April. Now, okay, a lot of people wouldn't call an overshooting B wave as part of a bear market, but it technically is part of that correction, okay? So we just need to understand that for the context. But of course, most, the major price drop started then here in November. Remember when we talked about, I think it was 58K when I talked about we are going to head into a bear market. And by the way, we normally have 1 or 2 scenarios. There was only one. There was only one scenario for, I think, 4 months, 5 months. And I only stopped talking about it when we headed below 29K. So a lot of loyal viewers will know that, will remember that it was a great time here. Because it was more interesting than what's happening now, which is just sideways. But yeah, we might be in a trend reversal state down here. Either way, that move down that started off the all-time high is considered a C wave. So we can count that either as an impulse or we count it as a so-called ending diagonal pattern. Doesn't matter. We are going to zoom in a minute and we take a look at what that means. But what would be the target for the next all-time high? I'm looking at, I would say, at least 110,000, more likely sort of the 125K range for the third wave. Then there should be a fourth and a fifth that should take us even higher, maybe 250, 160. But that is not going to happen tomorrow. Yeah, that will take some time. And please understand these targets only as guidelines. we measure them with Fibonacci extensions. Cryptos can often overshoot, yeah, and it will be very interesting to see what in the end will happen. But that's sort of for the orientation that you can understand what could happen in terms of targets, what we might be heading to. I think the next bull market, yeah, will lead to a 6-digit Bitcoin. But the question is, that rally that we're now in, is it going to lead to a bull market, or is it just a bear rally? So let's go back to the 4-hour chart, because on the 4-hour chart, we can actually see the price action since the November lows and the June lows. That is very relevant. So I just need to switch that off, zoom out a little bit. And then we see the movement since June. Yeah. And this is so important to understand. It is still highly likely that this was a third wave in June. We rallied only in an A wave. We came down in a B wave, and this currently is a C wave. So the C wave, I mean, that could be finished at C wave. Yeah. This is a so-called flat pattern. Yeah. In this case, you could get away with calling it a running. Well, it's not very clear. A running or expanded flat doesn't really matter. Expanded flat means actually that this C wave goes above the A wave high. Running flat would mean it goes below it, actually hit exactly that high. So we call it just a flat pattern, with, however, a B wave that went below the beginning of the A wave. Now, in this particular scenario, we completed a corrective pattern with a recent high that could still go a bit higher, absolutely. So we have still a valid long setup here, yeah, because even this C wave could extend out a little bit. So as long as we stay above 20K, that's actually quite likely. That's why some people ask me, why because my primary expectation is still that we are going to see another low. But I'm not like most people, I'm not like, okay, it's my primary expectation. I definitely want it to work. No, we need to think strategically in this market. So just because this is a highly likely scenario, it doesn't take much to invalidate it, okay? And don't understand it in a way that, okay, I'm telling you this is a count that is likely, it needs to work out, and the analysis is wrong if it doesn't. That's not the point. The analysis is here to inform you, and to inform you that we still need to be on our toes and need to be expecting another low. Yeah, it is not a given that we're heading into a bull market. I would love it, yeah, but it's not a given. But I told you very clearly what we need to see to confirm that the bear market is over. So someone asked me why we're not focusing more on the 5 waves to the downside, which should start now. Well, first of all, because here in the very short term, we have a valid long trade setup still, because we're taking a look at these scenarios in a minute. Even in this C wave scenario, we still have a scenario where the C wave could extend out, okay? So that's one point. The other point is, yes, this is an ABC structure, but it doesn't take much to basically invalidate it. And it could also be that the low was in here back in November. And with the setback into the green support area, yeah, when we are in this wave 2, because that's the bullish view, yeah, wave 1 to the upside, wave 2 to the downside. This wave 2, if that holds, then I will confirm, or then we have the confirmation as good as the market can give it to us, because there's never absolute certainty, but then we can have the confirmation that the bear market low was in November. So all we need to see is in the next larger pullback, and I don't think we are yet in the wave 2, but it could happen. Yeah, but if we in this wave 2 get into this support area, which goes down all the way to 17.5K, now it doesn't mean we need to go down that low, but sort of in the region between 20,000 and 17,567, yeah, if we get into this region and we hold it and then rally, then we can say the bear market is over. Now you need to think about what does that mean for your strategy. Now, I, for example, just because my primary is still down, I would not trade Bitcoin on the short side. Now we can talk about it when maybe the 20K level breaks down to 19K, yeah, things like that, or when the 17.5K level breaks. But don't want to trade Bitcoin aggressively on the short side because we are in a larger accumulation phase, and I also like to trade the larger timeframes. And this for me is accumulation, and prices of around 20K are long term very interesting, yeah. And if we come, money management is here very important. So I would always leave still a lot of cash aside for those prices if they happen in a C wave. If they don't happen, either way, I'm happy. Then I'm just gonna buy the long side here. I would buy the long side here anyway in this support area. If it fails, I leave a lot aside for lower prices still. And if it works out, then I would just scale in on the way up. So it's all about strategy, because let's be honest, if the only point here that I'm losing, or the only scenario in which I would be losing here, is if Bitcoin goes to 0. Okay, so I plan to scale in here for DCA and a swing trade. So for HODL portfolio and a swing trade, leaving still a lot of funds aside, and only really will get a bit more aggressive when we know that it's holding here. But then if we make a new low, maybe around 13, 14K, maybe even lower, then I would also add more aggressively to my portfolio. So either way, looking at this from a long-term point of view, whilst also trading the shorter-term swings, like here at the moment, yeah, I think we should see another bounce before we come down further, either way, short-term. But this is sort of just more for context, yeah, more for the context to understand that, okay? So we're currently in a large pullback in an overall larger uptrend for Bitcoin. I mean, the weekly chart, the trend is up, right? So I'm just buying the pullback here. And we're pretty much at the bottom of the range. I mean, what we do here with Bitcoin is bottoming structure. Doesn't mean it has to have bottomed, but it's a bottoming structure. So it's, yeah, and again, you know, the bearish count, I mean, we have the bearish count. The bearish count would get into control if the 17,567 level is breaking. Yeah. So I just don't want people to focus on a short side setup, even though we've got two massive support areas in the way. So that's why I primarily focus here on the upside. Also because in the short term, we, I think, still have some upside in front of us, at least potential. Potential doesn't mean it needs to happen, but we have some potential there. So if I now go to the 1 hour chart, we can see that we have moved up in this fifth wave, obviously. Yeah. Now, there are different scenarios. One scenario is that this 5-wave move off the November lows, again, just a reminder here, the 5-wave move in yellow here to the upside, yeah, that this finished on the 16th of Feb. That's one scenario. We can say we're coming down now in this green wave 2, yeah, and then we would come down here in an A, B, C correction. So then I would say the move that's currently happening here to the downside is a larger A wave. But I would expect somewhere here in the region between 20,377 and 21,536 a bounce in a B wave. And then we would come down in C. So that's why scaling in here for me makes sense. But this is not the only scenario. There's another scenario where we could say that this wave 4 actually never finished here. It was rather an A, an overshooting B wave, and now a C wave down. The wave 4 is actually here, and we still get our fifth wave up. That's possible. That's why scaling in here for me makes sense. There's a third scenario where I'm saying we've got here not the fifth wave of the first, but this was only off the fifth wave, a first wave. So that actually this fifth wave will sit somewhere up there. And the fourth wave did finish here on the 14th of Feb. This was just a wave 1. This here is now a wave 2. Now that's coming down too low for this scenario actually, but it's still valid. Then we could get a 3, a 4, and a 5. Therefore, it makes sense for me to scale in, right? So there are various scenarios in which we should expect a bounce in the current price region. But of course, it's not guaranteed it works out, right? It's all about finding support, low risk, high reward setups. And this is not, this is not a setup where we have a massive reward ahead of us, but still there's decent upside potential, especially if I'm looking at the altcoins, which are also in pullback areas, okay? Again, here also, no guarantee it works out. We can only trade and identify high reward, low risk setups. If that works out in the end, that's a different story. Yeah, but it's all about probabilities, no certainties. Now let's take a look at the 30-minute chart, because Bitcoin today did drop. But so far, yeah, so let me take out those. By the way, we nearly reached target down here. I think I did actually give you 2 target levels. I took one of them out, but the first one, I think, I don't actually know why I deleted it. So we said somewhere in that range here between these 2 lines, right? And that's where it landed. It was still a bit short. I would have liked it to come down to 21,850. Nevertheless, it came down, recovered quite quickly, but not substantial enough to say that we've bottomed. I think it could have bottomed, but the price action at the moment doesn't really suggest it yet. It's possible though. Yeah, it's possible. But for me, this wave 4 is still likely and possible, but I don't have enough price action to see and to justify that we've bottomed already. Similar to ETH, I would say we need to break above this resistance, 22,800 in this case, to indicate a more lasting bottom. You can also, similar to Ethereum, I think, add here a trend line. Yeah, basically we could say a corrective price channel. I'm not adding the lower boundary line now because this is just to get an initial indication that it bottoms. Yeah, depending on how I draw it. But I would say if we, similar to ETH, if it breaks above the descending trend line, then we have a first bottom signal. But it would get clearer if it breaks above 22.8K. Yeah, so this would only really be a first indication, not really a clear signal. Okay, that's my update about Bitcoin. So I would rather say at the moment I'm still leaning further downside, just because we haven't reached those ideal targets down there in the colored boxes. And bear in mind, there will be some more volatility throughout the week, I guess. It seems like we've broken out of the range, but we haven't really made any significant movements yet. And we just need to see now, is Bitcoin finished with its move down? I think we're getting close, yeah. But as I said before, one more low or two more lows would be expected. So I think it's done its minimum. One more low would not be unrealistic. So we need to expect that still. Again, I'm still leaning towards it actually. But if it breaks above the lower bound, the descending trend line, then we can reevaluate the situation. And if it goes above 22.8K, I have to say a more substantial bottom has been made. Okay, that's my update about Bitcoin. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.